Thank you, candidates. I'm Andrew Lee.
And I'm Michael Jacobson. Candidates, we're going to start the debate with opening statements. You each have 3 minutes. Ms. Roser, you may begin.
Hi again. Hello. Good evening. My name is Angel Roser. It is a pleasure to be here. Thank you so much for joining us. We are here tonight to talk a little bit about the positions on the issues, but in order to do so and to learn a little bit more about where I stand, I want to share a little bit about myself. Like many different families, I know what it's like to go through hardship. I, as a child, was born to immigrant parents. They came from Vietnam to the United States. At age 5, I wasn't potty trained. I didn't know English. I was severely malnourished and I suffered from lice infections. So when I entered kindergarten, I struggled and I fell behind really quickly. But because we live in the United States of America, educators saved my life. They reached out, they got me into foster care, and through the foster care system, I was passed around to numerous different foster families. I ended up with the Burridge family in 2011. They were my foster family until I aged out of the system at 19. That's 14 years of my life in foster care. As a young high school student, I knew that I was going to have to work incredibly hard to build my version of the American dream. I graduated with honors, and I came to my dream school, Kansas State University, where I studied human development and family sciences, and I had a concentration in personal financial planning. Through school as a full-time student, I worked full-time in banking to learn a little bit about the financial industry and to put myself through school and support my family. During that time, I also began work with the Manhattan Area Chamber of Commerce through multiple different ways, but mostly to invest in the next generation of young professionals. Last year, I transitioned into becoming a business development strategist. I work full-time for a small pain management clinic here in Manhattan. We serve veterans and our senior community. My husband, Second Lieutenant Joshua Roser, and I made the decision for me to run for this seat after being approached by several different community leaders in town. The fight for Kansas. I don't want any family to experience the hardship that I did growing up. And that's what drives me to make good decisions in Topeka that are going to serve Kansans and serve our families. Thank you so much for being here. It's a pleasure.
Ms. Zeno, it is your turn. You may begin.
Hello, everyone. Thank you. Thank you for the invitation. Thank you for being here. My name is Kim Zito, and I'm running for the Kansas House of Representatives. I am running because there are real problems here in Kansas, and we need serious people. I'm running because we need an economy that serves working Kansans. We must have a representative that actually represents the values of this community. We need a representative that will actually protect women from the right-wing abortion bans that are heading our way. We need a representative who will protect us. I promise I will work with members on both sides of the aisle. I'm a member of this community, and I've been here, and I understand what everyone is going through. Thank you.
Thank you, candidates, for your opening statements. Now, let's turn to our first topic of the evening, the economy. You each will have 3 minutes to respond to the question, and then the candidate who answers the question first is given another 2 minutes to rebut your opponent. Here is the question. For a 4th consecutive year, Kansas has been awarded the Golden Shovel Award by Area Development Magazine for the state's efforts in attracting high-value investments and job creation. As a state representative, how do you intend to support continued economic and job growth in Kansas? Ms. Zito, you will answer first.
Laura Kelly has done an excellent job, a tremendous job. Sorry. Laura Kelly has done a tremendous job in turning around our state economy after the brown bag experiment just 6 years ago. This is not working. But I'm sorry, can I just grab it? Okay. But we still have work to do. You're right, we have won the golden shovel, and that took a lot of work, and our governor has brought business and commerce to this economy, and we have seen a lot of job growth. One of the things that our local chamber has done here is it goes out to other states and it solicits businesses to come here. And one of the things that it is often met with by other businesses, when it's saying, come to Manhattan, come to our community, it's a wonderful place to be. When it's attracting those businesses, it's often asked, how are the schools, and is abortion legal? How are the schools, and is abortion legal? Of course, we have wonderful schools, and it makes sense that when families are moving their kids here, they want to make sure that the communities have good schools that their families can raise their kids in. But is abortion legal? And the reason they're asking that question is they want to make sure that Kansas values women, that Kansas can have a healthcare system that puts maternal healthcare first. They want to make sure that should they start to raise a family, that they have a healthcare system that they can be safe in. Right now, we are under attack here in Kansas, and this has a direct effect on our local economy and our state economy. And we have to make sure that we protect women, as this has a direct effect on our economy, and we have to make sure that we just go forward and protect women.
Thank you, Ms. Ito. Ms. Roser, your response.
Absolutely. There is no other community like Manhattan, Kansas. Our local economy is fueled by our Purple Pride, Kansas agriculture, and our commitment to Fort Riley. But because there is no other community like Manhattan, that means that we have to take a little bit of a unique approach. Fort Riley is home to the Big Red One, and supporting our military families and those who are here because their loved one is stationed here or retired here because they were once stationed here is critical to our economy and those who invest in working in it. Kansas agriculture spans across the entire state. The rest of the country looks to Kansas for the answers regarding that issue. What we can do best to champion that rural community is critical for the growth of our economy. K-State brings in thousands of students and faculty from across the globe. I'm proof of that. And what we do best for Manhattan and for the state of Kansas is what we can do to help retain that wonderful young talent that we have here within these walls that we are currently sitting in. The Manhattan Area Chamber of Commerce has done lots to invest in the next generation. With the Young Professionals Program, which I'm currently a chair of, our goal is to help retain and recruit good quality talent to drive our workforce. With the support of the Chamber and other organizations that are driving that initiative, it is my guarantee to dedicate myself to that initiative and the growth of the economic development sector in the state of Kansas.
Thank you, Ms. Roser. Ms. Ito, you have 2 minutes to rebut.
I'm okay.
Awesome, thank you.
Our next topic is affordability. Ms. Roser, you will respond first. Here's the question. 60% of Manhattanites are renters, and more than half of them are paying above 30% of their gross monthly income on rent alone. Property values also continue to rise, putting home ownership out of reach for more people and making it difficult for current residents to stay in their own homes. What are your plans to make living expenses more affordable for Manhattanites of all residential statuses? Ms. Roser, you have 3 minutes.
Well, I agree, the cost of everything has gone up. It's been harder for families, it's been harder for senior community and veterans and our students to continue to make ends meet. The other night when I was talking to voters, I got to talk to a wonderful young lady named Vivian who's worried about the property tax on her home and that she's not going to be able to stay here and continue living here because of the cost. I talked to Raven, she is a mother of 7 And she, like many others, are really pleased with the little bit of tax relief that we were able to receive last session. And she worries about the fact that we could have gotten it done faster if we could have made a bipartisan across the aisle effort to get that alleviated from her and her family. I talked to Kevin. He's incredibly worried about his senior parents. They don't turn on the heat in the winter because the cost of electricity and gas has gone up so substantially that he worries about their health and well-being. And I talked to Lanesia, who was a student here and works at K-State, and she's entering back into the workforce. She's got a darling 4-month-old baby at home, and she's worried that her paychecks aren't going to cover the cost of daycare. These are real concerns from real people in our community. And what we can do as a state to lower the taxes, particularly the property taxes, to alleviate those renters, which does have a direct impact on them, but especially families like Lanesia and Vivian's and Kevin's, is what's going to help alleviate the affordability issue that we are currently having as a state.
And then Ms. Zito, you have 3 minutes to respond.
I understand affordability issues. It is tough right now. I get it. There's a reason why we are all shopping at Aldi, why we are using coupons and shopping at Dillon's on Fuel Points Fridays. I understand that. Here's the thing. Our legislature is completely ignoring the real issues. Do you realize in the last 2 years, after we voted no on August 2nd, they created 25 anti-abortion bills and 5 have become law? And do you realize that instead of dealing with property taxes, they're just legislating women's bodies? Instead of dealing with funding public schools, they're just legislating bodies. Instead of expanding Medicaid, they're just legislating women's bodies. Property taxes are going up year after year, double digits, and that's affecting our wallets, and that's affecting your rents. And that is something that the state legislature needs to reform. Property taxes are going up because of the Brown-back tax schemes. And these are something that Democratic legislators are constantly fighting year over year. The Brown-back tax schemes are always a threat because the very people who want them are the very people who are funding my opponent's campaign. They are the ones who want the property tax, who don't care about property taxes. They want the income taxes, the flat tax. They will always come after the flat tax at the expense of local governments. And then local governments have to put the pressure on property taxes. And that comes down on you and me. My opponent will always back the Brown-back tax scheme. And that will always be a threat to all of us. Thank you.
And then Ms. Roser, you'll have 2 minutes to rebut.
Out of respect for the bipartisan group that is hosting this event, I'd like to stick to the issue. And for me, what I believe and what I know is that there is not a single solution to this. It's going to take a candidate that is willing to make a bipartisan effort to work across the aisle, to make the difficult decisions it takes to make sure that we are fulfilling our budget. We have a rainy day fund, and the rest of those dollars are going back into the pockets of taxpayers. That's what helps us alleviate affordability. Seeing that money come back to Kansas taxpayers, that effort to end the burdensome regulations that are stopping us from being able to do business efficiently, that's the bottom line of this issue. Thank you.
Thank you. The next topic this evening is K-12 education. Ms. Zito, you will answer the following question first. Kansas students are still recovering from academic loss during the pandemic, and teachers increasingly feel overwhelmed with tasks beyond teaching. How can the state help schools reverse declines in academic performance? And how can the state alleviate some of the burdens faced by educators so they can focus on teaching? You may begin.
I wish we could end the debate on public education and K through 12. We need to just fully fund public education. That would alleviate the burden first. Let's just start with funding, okay? Funding would probably help with staffing. Let's fully fund special education. How about that? And then we wouldn't have to take it out of the general fund when we have to dip into the general fund to fund the special education. It is a state constitution mandate that we fully fund education, and every Kansas student must receive a quality education here in the state of Kansas. It's in the state constitution. And yet we have this debate every single election. Why is that? Why is that, Kansas? How many of you have heard about Project 2025? Right? Yeah, you've all heard it, right? Project 2025 is trying to decimate public education. This is going to be a fight we have year after year after year. And I don't know about you, but I am sick and tired of it. The Brownback tax schemes are a way to undercut public education. Were you here in Kansas? You probably were, when the Brownback tax schemes forced schools to take half the light bulbs out of the buildings because they couldn't afford electricity, or when schools had to set the thermostats at 58 degrees because they couldn't afford heat, and kids had to wear their coats inside the classrooms during winter. Do you remember that? Or some of the school districts had to restrict the school week to 4 days a week because they couldn't pay staff for 5 days a week. We cannot afford to go back to those days, but every single legislative session, we are fighting Brownback tax schemes. It's called Brownback 2.0, or the flat tax. Call it whatever you want, it's Brownback. And we're doing it every single year. And the people who are funding my opponent's campaign, they're the ones who are going to install this kind of legislation every single year, and it will undercut public education. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Cito. Ms. Roser, your response.
As someone who grew up without parents during a critical developmental period of my life, I was raised by three main groups: public officials, public educators, and public healthcare workers. This issue isn't just important to me, it is personal. It is incredibly personal. I have continued to proudly pledge my support for fully funding K through 12 education and fully funding special education. That has never changed. Has never changed. Education is what has made the biggest difference in my life. From the teachers who raised me in grade school, the professors who challenged me here at K-State, what I will do to champion those educators, including the ones at MATC, is my pleasure and my honor. I want to let you know that I have been considered a top recruit by Game On for Kansas schools, a fierce advocate for K through 12 public education in the state. And I've also been recommended as a friendly candidate by our local teachers union. It's not just people from around the area, it's teachers who teach the kids here and across the state. Here's the bottom line. I have pledged my support continuously for K through 12 education, and I do not support the diversion of public dollars to private schools. Period. My position remains consistent. I will stand with our students, I will stand with our educators, and I will stand with our community on this issue.
Thank you. Ms. Cito, you have 2 minutes to respond.
Our current representative is a former 3-star general. It's a pretty big deal. 2 years ago, our House passed fully funding special education. It's a pretty big deal. And then the Speaker of the House, Dan Hawkins, gavelled for a recess, marched his Republican caucus members to the back. 20 minutes later, they came back out. They held the vote again, and special education funding was repealed. And our three-star general representative, who voted yes for special education, voted no. That's what happens in the Kansas House. You will vote the way they tell you to vote. And my opponent, though she tells you she will vote the way she says she will vote, she is no three-star general.
Our next topic is healthcare. Ms. Roser, you will respond first. United Health Foundation reports that Kansas has the 15th highest uninsured rate in the country, with 8.4% of residents living without private or public health insurance coverage. Furthermore, approximately 58% of rural hospitals are at risk of closing. What specific policies do you support that will lower Kansas's uninsured rate and protect our rural hospitals? Ms. Roser, you will have 3 minutes.
Our local healthcare providers in our area have been very clear that Medicaid expansion would help them. The legislature should consider all options for care that's going to give help to those who need it, including the reimbursement rate for those providers who serve our community. As a child, I received Medicaid services. It is a critical safety net for those who need it. And ensuring that we have that priority laid out for them and they know that we are advocating for them is critical in this issue. Also, I don't know if you all are aware, but I work in healthcare. Every day I work with government healthcare. I serve the VA, I serve TRICARE, I serve Medicaid, I serve Medicare, I serve Blue Cross Blue Shield, United, Aetna, all of them. I see firsthand what insurance is doing to our wonderful providers in our area that are doing their best to keep this community healthy. We don't just have a Medicaid issue, we have a healthcare issue. I would love to see the reimbursement rate go up for our providers. I would also like to see our referral and prior auth system be remediated for those providers.
Ms. Zito, you have 3 minutes to respond.
Can you ask the question again?
Yeah, for sure. The question is, the United Health Foundation reports that Kansas currently has the 15th highest uninsured rate in the country, with 8.4% of residents living without private or public health insurance coverage. Furthermore, approximately 58% of rural hospitals are at risk of closing. So the question is, what specific policies do you support that will lower Kansas's uninsured rate and protect our rural hospitals?
I fully support Medicaid expansion. There are only 10 states left that have not expanded Medicaid. 10. Expanding Medicaid would give access to hardworking Kansans health care. I mean, what is wrong with that? What is wrong with giving hardworking Kansans access to health care? And why haven't we done it yet? More than 70% of Kansans want this done. And I have talked to Manhattaners. We want it done. The fact that it hasn't been done, and the fact that we have been so close to getting this done, and then at the last minute, Time Masterson or Dan Hawkins, Time Masterson is President of the Senate, or Dan Hawkins is Speaker of the House, they pull it out. I just don't understand. My opponent here opposes it, and don't let her tell you otherwise. If you go to her website, she actually has it listed under a priority. It's a priority that she opposes Medicaid. A priority. 70% of Kansans want this done. It will help our neighbors and our friends. A healthy community is a strong community. I will always support Medicaid expansion. We are letting $6 billion of our federal tax money go by saying no to Medicaid expansion. 40 other states in this country have got it done. And yet we're saying, yeah, that's okay. Take our money, take our federal tax dollars. We all paid into the federal tax system, but we don't need our money. No. Our friends and our neighbors need health care, and it is up to us to get it done here. Governor Kelly wants it done. It's a bipartisan issue, bipartisan across Kansas. We want it done. Let's get it done.
Ms. Roser, you have 2 minutes to rebut.
As I said, the Medicaid issue, Medicaid expansion can be a piece of the puzzle, but it is not the only piece of the puzzle. There are many issues in Medicaid and healthcare as a whole that we need to remediate. If we're going to be honest, I don't think that all those issues are going to be solved in Topeka. I'd also like to note that she's not wrong. I'm not a 3-star general. I'm a first-generation American who was in foster care for 14 years, who survived a DV situation and bullies who are going to go to Topeka and cause mayhem and act like that's going to be the way we get things done when the real solution is working across the aisle in a bipartisan effort. That's the answer. Thank you.
Thank you. The next topic this evening is reproductive autonomy. Ms. Ito, you will answer the following question first. In 2022, 59% of Kansans, including 68% of Riley County residents, voted against a proposed constitutional amendment that would have given the state legislature more authority to regulate abortion access. Since then, the legislature has introduced and enacted further regulations on abortion. What are your thoughts on the perceived difference between voters' preference and legislative action with regard to this issue? You may begin.
This is where I have a real problem. 68% of District 67. Thank you, Andrew. I actually have been saying 67% all along because it was 67, pretty easy. 68% of this House district voted no. And yet, this legislature, this supermajority Republican-led legislature is shoving their agenda down our throats. 25 anti-abortion bills in the last 2 years after 59% of Kansas voted no. Do you know who didn't vote? My opponent. Did not cast a vote on August 2nd. Did not vote. But now she wants to legislate your bodies. 59% of us showed up on August 2nd and said, take a hike, and yet they have been legislating our bodies. 5 laws since August 2nd. I have a real problem with this. It might sound like this is a single issue, but this single issue can shatter someone's world. We saw since Roe v. Wade has been overturned, we have seen the fallout. Women are dying. This could be your wife who had a partial miscarriage, and now she has to bleed for 20 hours. She has to get up on death's door before a doctor can give her health care. And then she'll go into the ICU, get treatment, leave the hospital, maybe have organ failure. Oh, and then you'll get a $100,000 health bill. Oh, but we don't have Medicaid here. Or Medicaid expansion. Yeah, that's fair. Where is the justice in that? I have a real problem with that, especially after we voted. Can you imagine losing your wife, losing your daughter? Can you imagine telling your children that their mother is dead because of a bad law, because of legislation? Idaho and Texas and Alabama, these are the canaries in the coal mine. Kansas legislators, this right-wing extremist GOP, this is what they're salivating to get their hands on. They want to be like Idaho, they want to be like Texas. Chris Kobach would love to legislate this ban to the Supreme Court. Oh, he would love to have his face be the poster child of this ban. It's coming. It's on the Kansas GOP website. This is on their platform. I'm not making this up. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Rose, your response.
Kansas voters made their voice incredibly clear in 2022, which I did vote under my maiden name. I was not married. And they voted no to the Value Them Both bill. To be more specific, our community defeated that amendment by 36 points. I want to be clear. I do not support a total ban on abortion. Anybody telling you otherwise is being dishonest. Having grown up in the foster care system, I am not blind or ignorant to the difficult decisions that mothers and families have to make regarding their body and their future. As a Christian, of course, I am committed to supporting a policy that promotes pro-life culture in Kansas, but like so many in our community, I support exceptions to accommodate for the heartbreaking decisions that have to be made, such as regarding issues like rape or incest or harm to the mother. I am beyond disappointed that my opponent continues to make this painful and difficult topic a game of political football. It is what I hate about politics. It is why good people don't run for positions like this anymore. We can do better. We have to do better. We deserve better.
Thank you. Ms. Cito, you have 2 minutes to review.
I'll agree with you on that. I'm tired of the political football, and this is why I am running. This is why good people do run. Our bodies should not be political football. Our bodies should not be legislated. I will always fight for a woman's right to choose. I will always stand up for a woman's right to choose. Ty Masterson and Chris Kobach and Dan Hawkins have no right to be in between our doctors and our bodies. There is a reason why you don't talk about this issue on your website, and there is a reason why you don't talk about this issue on your literature. We know what you stand for. You don't have to tell us. We know what you stand for, and we know what you'll support. We know how you will vote.
Okay, our next topic is higher education. Ms. Roser, you will respond first. Kansas State University claims to be a university for Kansans and takes pride in its working class culture. But since 2011, the cost of tuition and required fees has increased 68.4% at K-State compared to a 40% inflation rate in the same time period. The rise in tuition and fees has made a college degree unattainable for many Kansas students of working class families. What should the state do to help to make post-secondary education more affordable for these students? Ms. Roser, you have 3 minutes.
Well, don't I know it? I was out of state when I came to K-State. And higher education looks different for all sorts of students. Some choose a university like K-State, like I did, or they choose a community college or technical school. Here in Manhattan, we are lucky to have both, and they're both ranked. States play an important role in maintaining affordability for higher education. The responsibility is two-pronged. We must work alongside Congress to make sure that we can maintain affordability for higher education. I promise to work with both parties on the House Appropriations Committee to make sure that we are properly appropriating funds at the state level for higher education. For K-State, this is critical for funding our operating budget or alleviating the burden on students, and student debt can be lessened. K-State has a wonderful government affairs team. They work hand in hand with legislature to make sure that we are able to properly operate our budget here in Manhattan and beyond at the other campuses that K-State is at. Manhattan Area Technical College, I was just at their ribbon cutting, and they are doing way above and beyond to help our industry and to get the highly skilled workers in the high demand that we need them at to continue investing in our state with the proper training and certifications. We must continue state funding for the higher education so that we can continue to grow the workforce of Kansas and for the future economic development of Manhattan and beyond.
Ms. Zito, you have 3 minutes to respond.
One more time, please.
Yeah, for sure. Let me go back here. Oh. No, I'll start. Yeah. Okay. Kansas State University, sorry about that. Kansas State University claims to be the university for Kansans and takes pride in its working class culture. But since 2011, the combined cost of tuition and required fees has increased by 68.4% at K-State compared to a 40% inflation rate in the same time period. The rise in tuition and fees has made a college degree unattainable for many Kansas students of working class families. What should the state do to help make post-secondary education more affordable for these students?
Higher education is important, no matter if it's a four-year university, if it's technical school, if it's apprenticeships, trade school. I am for all types of education. Four-year education comes in all shapes and sizes. Two-year education. We are so lucky here in Manhattan to have K-State and to have MATC. Oops, I'm sorry. We love K-State. When we moved here and we were going to the open houses and the science fest on points, our son Charlie, he's in second grade and in kindergarten and first grade and second grade. It was so much fun watching him learn from the students here and the professors and the grad students, and we went to the physics demonstration and to watch our son go, physics rocks, physics rocks. It was just awesome. K-State's a pillar of our economy, and we want our students here in Kansas to be able to go to, whether it's K-State or Emporia State or KU, and then stay in Kansas. And so we need to be able to make college or trade schools affordable and then have them stay. So we need an economy here in Kansas that works for hardworking Kansans. We have college tax credits available here in the Kansas. Our state treasurer has made available college tax credits for college schools, for Kansas schools. And that is one way that we can make college affordable. But one of the things that I have a problem with that's going on with the state legislature that's making it difficult is they're tying funding to Kansas schools with curriculums, and they're policing curriculums, and they're holding dollars hostage. What this is doing is that it's making it hard for schools to attract students, and it's making it hard for schools to attract faculty. Why are we allowing legislatures to police schools and to tie funding to culture wars? This is going to hurt the economy entirely. We need to start thinking about the overall economy and how we're banning books on college campuses, we're policing curriculums, we're telling teachers, we're telling professors how they can teach. And when we're tying dollars to this, what that's ultimately doing is it's driving up costs on students. And so that's hurting everybody.
Ms. Roser, you have 2 minutes to that.
Again, I am a proud graduate of K-State University. I never would have dreamed I had the opportunities like I do here. And those were pivotal to my success as a student. And I know that they are pivotal to the success of many other students in this area and similar across the other universities. Those students are going to become the next leaders of our state, leaders in our industries across the state. What we can do to support them in that endeavor and get them to stay in this beautiful state is important to the state of Kansas and important to me. Supporting our state universities and technical colleges is not just a priority of a representative, it is a requirement, and it is one that I look forward to fulfilling.
Thank you. The next topic this evening is small businesses. Ms. Zito, you will answer the following question first. What are some of the biggest challenges current and potential small business owners face in Kansas? And how should the state government help small entrepreneurs overcome those obstacles? You may begin.
We need to increase the child tax credit. That would help first and foremost. If we could increase the child tax credit, that would put more workers into the workforce. One of the biggest problems that small businesses have is they don't have enough staff. I know when we had our family, when we had Charlie, I stopped working. We couldn't afford for me to work. Childcare was too much. It would have putting Charlie in daycare would have wiped out my paycheck. So I stayed home. I was taken out of the labor market. So if we could increase the child tax care credit, if we could increase the child tax credits, that would put people back into the workforce. Businesses could have staff. Businesses could stay open. People would have more disposable income in their pockets. People could spend that disposable income at small businesses.
Thank you. Ms. Roser, your response.
Well, one of the reasons that I love Manhattan is because of the culture of small businesses that we have grown here. They don't just support our local economy, but they're the backbone. Businesses like Yeehaw Country Outfitters, which, they know me by name. Pho Viet, which is our only local Vietnamese restaurant here in town, which I love. And BB Fabrication, which was started by a born and raised Manhattanite, married Manhattanite, and now going to be a father of a Manhattanite. These businesses are working to serve our community, and they are running into government red tape. Red tape. My goal is to eliminate that for them and all of the other obstacles so that they can have streamlined services and help our community and continue to invest back into the community. I am proud to have the endorsement of the Kansas Chamber of Commerce, which has a mission of supporting small business across the state, and the Kansas Agribusiness Council, which represents our local grain elevators and our co-ops. I'm supported and endorsed by our National Federation of Independent Businesses. These all represent a cross-section of small businesses in our community and across our state. I'm excited to work for the opportunity to serve them and to serve alongside of them, because small business can thrive when we stay focused on creating a climate and a culture that supports them and allows them to do what they have been wanting to do this entire time, which is to do business. As I stated, I have the full support of organizations that advocate for Kansas to be a place where businesses can now invest in and innovate in. I promise to fight to remove obstacles that stand in the way from businesses being able to do exactly that, business.
Thank you. Ms. Zito, you have 2 minutes to present.
We're about to open a small business here in Kansas, and it's actually really easy. There's not a lot of red tape, honestly. It's really fill out a form. There's no red tape. I'm glad that my opponent brought up that she's endorsed by the Kansas State Chamber of Commerce. That opens up a lot of discussion here. Do you know the red tape and the obstacles that my opponent has just referred that the Kansas State Chamber of Commerce is talking about? Taxes. Yes, the Kansas State Chamber of Commerce doesn't want corporate taxes. The Kansas State Chamber of Commerce doesn't want to be taxed. They want the flat tax. They want brownback tax schemes. Those are the obstacles that the Kansas Chamber of Commerce wants removed. You know who else the Kansas Chamber of Commerce, what they don't want, what they find to be a really big problem? the taxes that go to public education. The Kansas Chamber of Commerce, they're funded by, Charles Koch. Oh, and Charles Koch is the one that put his guy in at Emporia State. Oh, and Emporia State they just dismantled public education there. My opponent is bought and paid for by the Kansas Chamber of Commerce, and it is written all over her campaign literature.
Our final topic tonight is taxation. Ms. Roser, you will respond
We're
first.
not going to rebuttal.
Oh, no, not that time. Yeah. Our final topic is taxation. Ms. Roser, you will respond first. In June, Governor Kelly signed a tax reduction bill that cuts income sales and property taxes by $2 billion over 5 years. Critics say that bill does not provide enough property tax relief and may threaten the fiscal health of the state. Do you think the tax relief provided in the law is enough? And how would you provide tax relief to Kansans while maintaining a balanced budget? Ms. Roser, you have 3 minutes.
While going door to door, I have yet to find a single person who wants to see their taxes increased. Not one. On the contrary, I know that several people are pleased with the legislation that we've had recently that did pass some tax relief for them and their families and across the state. And I am too, but I definitely think that tax relief could have gone a little bit farther. It absolutely did not do enough to address the property taxes, and I am committed to working on reducing those taxes for our seniors who are trying to stay working in our communities, for our families trying to make ends meet, and for the veterans who are here trying to invest in the businesses trying to invest to make a living and continue to thrive here. You can't talk about that. You cannot talk about taxes without talking about the budget. The legislature needs to ensure that we are funding critical state services like the ones that we have brought up tonight, including education and safety. We also need to take a look at the size and the scope of government. If we can be more efficient, then we should be. Government should be working at the speed of business. I think that the legislature has made some smart decisions regarding the rainy day fund and balancing the budget and to prepare for difficult times, but we have got to return the surplus back to the people.
Ms. Zito, you have 3 minutes to respond.
Allow me to get a little bit wonky, okay, because I love talking about taxes. So when we pay taxes, we pay our taxes with the expectation that the taxes we pay come back to the community to pay for the resources that we use, right? It's fair. How many of you pay taxes? Yes. How many of you pay federal taxes? How many of you pay sales tax? Yes. Okay. Fair. When we pay our federal taxes, again, allow me to become wonky. When we pay $1 in federal taxes, do you realize that our state legislature allows only 27 cents to come back to the state of Kansas? 27 cents. That's approved by the state legislature. I know when I let Charlie buy candy at the snack bar at the pool, I don't let him do that very often, but when I give him $1 at the pool and I say, go ahead, go buy candy, I want the change back. And he tries to hide it, he tries to not give me his 50 cents back, but I want my 50 cents back. Well, that's how I feel about when I pay $1 in federal taxes. I want my 73 cents to come back. But for some reason, the state legislature says, no, we're Kansans. We don't need that 73 cents back. But we're going to raise your taxes anyway. How do you like that? I have a really big problem with that because I paid my $1 and I want my 73 cents back. When we pay state sales tax, I want my state sales tax to come back to my community, right? I don't want it to go to, say, Kansas City, Kansas for stadiums. My opponent does. I don't, because that's not going to help us here in Manhattan. That's not going to help small businesses here in Manhattan if Kansas City, Kansas gets tax breaks for stadiums, but my opponent does. You can see it on the website. When we pay taxes, I expect those taxes to come back to Manhattan, and that's what I'll be fighting for. I don't want brownback tax schemes. That's not okay with me. And I'm really sick and tired of hearing Republicans talk about and complain about taxes when they've been in power since 1992. And when they complain about things that they can fix with the swipe of a pen. Thank you.
Ms. Roser, you'll have 2 minutes to rebut.
It took both parties a decade to dig Kansas out from the brownback tax experiment. I have no interest in returning to that. And any person who says that I do is being dishonest. I don't stand for that. I just want you to know that during the brownback era, I was shopping for a prom dress. I wasn't around. I was in foster care, living my life as a high schooler. Don't hold me accountable for decisions I have not yet made. It's going to take a bipartisan effort and a candidate who's willing to make that effort to accomplish any sort of productive tax reform that it's going to take. And I am willing to work with anybody on either side of the aisle if that means that we can find something that works for the state of Kansas. Right now, neither party has cornered the market on a good idea, and I'm ready to see those ideas come to fruition and make it work for the state of Kansas. Let's get things done for this community as it regards to many of the things, but in particular, taxes.
Thank you. Thank you, candidates, for answering all of our topic questions tonight. To conclude this debate, you each will have 3 minutes to give a closing statement. Ms. Zito, you will go first.
So on August 2nd, 2 years ago, we voted no. We voted no. 68% of Manhattan, we voted no. 59% of Kansas voted no. We said stay away from our bodies and move on, and our state legislature has done nothing but. 25 anti-abortion bills have been created, 5 have become law. They continue to ignore property tax reform. Our property taxes are going up and up and up every single year. They continue to ignore fully funding public schools year over year. They continue to ignore Medicaid expansion. But sure, our bodies, after we voted, I have a really big problem with that. They continue to bully us, and I don't like bullies. We have been represented by a representative who has betrayed us. And it will continue. It will continue. Manhattan, we deserve to have our values represented. We deserve to be protected. I am tired of not being heard in the legislature. I am tired of politicians coming after us as if we don't exist. My son is our son, sorry, sweetie. Our son is in the public school system. He's a 2nd grader. I want to make sure that our public schools are funded. I want to make sure that as teachers, all the staff, our school board, our bus drivers, I want to make sure that they are safe. I want to make sure that when I say goodbye to him in the morning, that he comes home at the end of the day. My opponent will support the brownback tax schemes. I know she says that she won't, but she will. She has no choice. That's what happens in Topeka. They have no choice. There are 2 people who run Topeka, Dan Hawkins and Ty Masterson. And they are owned by the Kansas Chamber of Commerce and Charles Koch. The MAGA Republican Party has taken over, and we have to fight back. They are extremists. They want to ban abortion. They want tax cuts, tax schemes, tax giveaways, and they will stop at nothing. Medicaid will not be expanded. Public schools will continue to be destroyed, and women, our bodies, will continue to be legislated.
Your time has expired.
I am the one and only choice in this race.
Ms. Roser, the closing statement, please.
Thank you. I did not come here to pick a fight. I came here to educate people on my positions, on the issues. And so that being said, I have spent a lot of time on front steps. I spent a lot of time around kitchen tables and in local businesses talking about the common sense solutions that will best serve our community. Lower taxes, better schools, safer communities. That's what's important to me because that is what is important to you. I will not get distracted by the partisan games and the party bosses. Like you, I am incredibly frustrated by the inability of partisan politics to get things done. I know how to work hard to overcome difficulties in life, circumstances in life. I know that very well. I will fight to get what this community needs and deserves in Topeka, because our ability to stay focused on the issues and not get bogged down by extremism, that is what makes Manhattan so special. That is what made it my first home. That's what made it our forever home. Our problems are not partisan, yet so many are focused on scoring political points instead of worrying about the issues that are right in front of us. And I'm a common sense leader. I will put our families and our communities over partisanship any day, every day, because when we work together, the reasonable solution isn't going to be red or blue. It's going to be a little bit purple. There are clear differences between my opponent and I. Over the next month and a half, you are going to see, you're going to hear a lot of different things about this race. And if you have questions or you have concerns about any of that, here's my cell phone number, 785-236-8634. You text me, you call me. Let's get coffee, let's get lunch, you name it, I'm there. That is what's important to me. The misleading ads, half-truths, we can work through that together. But I cannot get this done, and I cannot work on this alone without your support. I'm Angel Roser. It is a pleasure to be here. I am asking for your vote on or before November 5th. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you so much for your investment in the civic cause. Thank you.
So we obviously got done early. That's a pretty rare thing in politics, so congrats to everyone. Thank you, Ms. Zito, Ms. Roser, for participating in our debate tonight and educating potential voters about this election cycle. Before everyone goes, I want to let you know some important election information. You can register to vote or update your registration by Tuesday, October 15th by visiting ksvotes.org. The QR code is up there on the screen. You can also check which districts you belong in and where your polling location is at My Voter View through the Kansas Secretary of State's website. QR code is also up there on the screen. Early voting begins Wednesday, October 16th and lasts until Monday, November 4th. You can vote early downtown near the Riley County Courthouse or right here in the Student Union. On 2 floors above us in the Grand Ballroom, there will be an early voting polling location available to anyone who's registered in Riley County. If you want to vote by mail from the comfort of your home, you can also request a ballot at ksvotes.org. But if you do prefer the excitement of voting in person on Election Day, it's on Tuesday, November 5th. Polls are open 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. Thank you all again for coming and have a good evening.
Thank you so much, Kel, for everything. For any K-State students in the audience, we have some special resources over here at this table specifically designed for you to help you navigate whether you're a first-time voter or a returning voter. But if you are a K-State student who has questions about voting or registration, please come see me at this table over here. And thank you again, everyone, for being here.